You ever have one of those days where you just wish somebody would try you, just so you can show them you're not the one? Yeah, that was me not too long ago, except instead of some random stranger, it was the president of the Maple Creek HOA and her little band of clipboard commandos. I know you probably think I'm exaggerating, but trust me, I couldn't make this up if I tried. Let me back up a sec. I live on a patch of land my folks bought way back in the early 80s. Little 2-acre slice of woods runs down to a creek house my parents built with their own hands. Family's pride and joy. When they retired to Florida 5 years ago, I inherited the place and settled in kept to myself, just minding my own business, cutting the grass, feeding the birds, drinking coffee on the back deck, feeling pretty dang lucky to have it. The neighborhood next door, that one grew up out of nowhere, used to be just a handful of homes. Then suddenly they've got their own Facebook group and a board of directors. 3 years ago they made it official Maple Creek HOA. I never joined. Didn't have to. My land came first, was never in their boundaries. That's important. Stick a pin in that. So it's last spring, bright Saturday morning, birds singing. I'm out on my deck with a mug of coffee, and here come 3 guys with tripods and orange vests stomping through my backyard like they own the place, sticking survey stakes in the ground. I blinked twice. Thought maybe I'd missed a memo, but nope. I head down, ask the lead guy, balding clipboard, not an ounce of apology in his voice. Can I help you? And he goes, we're surveying for the Maple Creek HOA, nothing to worry about, just like that. Nothing to worry about on my property. I told him pretty calm. I think you're mistaken, this is my land, not HOA. He huffs, says we have authorization from the board. They're planning to extend the community walking trail through here, my backyard. You ever have one of those moments where your coffee gets real cold, real fast? That was me. I tried to be reasonable. Buddy, you're trespassing, and the only walking happening here is you off my land. One of the other surveyors, a kid maybe early 20s, looks nervous, suggests double-checking the property lines. But clipboard guy Jim just says, we have our orders. At that point, I went inside, called the police non-emergency line, who, by the way, told me to call 911 since they wouldn't leave. 15 minutes later, a cruiser rolls up. Officer Martinez name tag, late 30s, straight shooter, walks over. I explain, show her my property deed, my survey tax statement, the works. She walks with me, asks the surveyors if they've got proof the HOA owns this land. Jim, of course, has nothing. She says, without documentation, you're trespassing. Time to leave. The kid starts packing. Jim stands there like a deflated balloon, but eventually follows suit. As they leave, Jim mutters, the HOA president isn't going to be happy about this. Like that's supposed to scare me. Next morning, doorbell rings. I swear I could smell the perfume before I opened the door. There she is, Diane Harlow, 50-something, hair sprayed within an inch of its life. Pearl's clipboard attitude for days. She tells me, real formal, I understand you had our surveyors removed from community property. I'm thinking, here we go. I tell her calmly, Miss Harlow, this isn't community property. I've got the deed, the survey, you name it. She waves a hand, tells me there's a misunderstanding. Their development plans show my land as greenbelt. They want to build a trail. It'll benefit everyone. I tell her again, I'm not interested, and I have legal proof. She snaps, calls me selfish, says, the board has already approved the plans. I say your HOA has no authority over my land. I'm not in your HOA. My place was here first. Her eyes go cold. We'll see about that. The HOA has lawyers, you know. Yeah, that happened. By then I'd had enough. I called a real estate attorney, showed him my papers. He laughed, said I was 100% in the right, suggested a cease and desist letter to the HOA board. I took Officer Martinez's advice, put up no trespassing signs. Week later, I get a certified letter from the HOA's lawyer full of big words, basically saying I had to take down my signs and let the survey continue. My lawyer actually laughed out loud. They can't retroactively claim your land, he said. We'll set them straight. 2 days after that, I get home from work, and what do I see? Surveyors in my yard again, this time with Diane and 2 other folks in tow, all of them acting like they're about to film an episode of HGTV. I call 911 and my attorney. This time, 2 officers show up. Officer Martinez is one of them. I show her the cease and desist letter, the HOA's threats. She turns to Diane and says, "You've been informed this isn't your property. Now you're trespassing after being warned." Diane's flustered. "Our lawyer says we have jurisdiction." Martinez asked for a court order or deed. They got nothing. "Then you all need to leave now." One of the board members whispers, "Maybe we should go, Diane." Diane glares at me. "This isn't over." Yeah, well, famous last words. Last. My attorney files for a restraining order against the HOA. Judge grants it. HOA can't set foot on my property. I figure that's the end, but no 2 weeks later I get a notice. The HOA is suing me, saying the original subdivision plans from the 70s grant them an easement for their trail. My lawyer just shakes his head. "This is a nuisance suit. They're hoping you'll settle." 3 months later, we're in court. HOA lawyer makes his pitch, talks about original plans, utility easements, community benefit, blah blah. My attorney stands up, lays out the original survey, the deed, decades of tax records, even aerial photos, showing my property's always been separate. The judge barely takes a breath before ruling in my favor. Dismisses their suit, orders the HOA to pay my legal fees, almost $8,000. The look on Diane's face worth every penny. Here's the twist, and I didn't see it coming after the verdict, neighbors. I'd never spoken to start dropping by, apologizing, bringing cookies, shaking my hand. Turns out Diane went rogue. Most of the HOA didn't even know she'd pushed the lawsuit until they got the bill. 6 months later, word gets around Diane's been booted as president. The new board reaches out, apologizes, promises to respect my boundaries. And you know what? As a goodwill gesture, I let them put a bench and a little bird feeder by the creek on my terms at the edge of my land. Now, I actually enjoy a chat with neighbors who stop by. If there's a moral, I guess it's this: know your rights. Keep your paperwork handy and don't back down just because someone with a clipboard tries to scare you. You stand your ground. Sometimes you even get a new friend out of it. But let me ask you, has anyone here had an HOA or neighbor ever try to pull something like this on you? Did you fight back or let them walk all over you? I want to hear your stories, so drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what you'd do if it were your backyard on the line. Let's see what kind of justice you believe in, because if you ask me, a deed is a lot more powerful than a clipboard every single time.